Well, hey, everybody. I think I got it working. Holy smokes. Everything broke down at the last minute. Sorry about that. Let's try to have a live show. All of a sudden, the phone computer wasn't working. So I had to do some troubleshooting there. So let's cross our fingers that the phone lines work and we'll see. So, how about we have a live show? All right, here we go. I need your calls. And if we can't take calls on the phone, we'll take calls here via the video feed. We got a couple of ways to get this done. So let's have a call-in show. Let me grab a soda real quick. I've clicked on so many buttons. Let's hope this thing works. All right. Let's see. What do I need? What do I need? What do I need? Here we go. It's 14th. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the BOGP open line for Sunday night, April 14th, 2024. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from brguestpodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Sunday night to you. Hope you're having a great wrap to the weekend. Tax day tomorrow here in the States. If you're Canadian, lucky you, no tax day. Already paid my quarterly taxes. I'm an independent contractor, which means my tax day comes around 4 times a year. Lucky me, right? If you're an independent contractor, you know what I'm talking about. But hey, that's just life here in these United States of America. But we're going to have a good time tonight talking Disney, not talking taxes. So we're going to have a great time. 407-413-9395, 407-413-9395. Scotty G is not here. He is at a concert with his daughter tonight. So that's where he needs to be. So that's pretty awesome. We're going to try to get Instagram hooked back up here. We have something going wrong over here. We can fix it real quick. Man, I've had all kinds of technical difficulties. People listening on the replay, you don't even know. It's been a night already. So let me get this going here. Public, and next, and get the key here and copy and go down here to paste the stream. Sorry about all this. What a night we are having here on the Be Our Guest podcast. The phones weren't working earlier. I think I got it working. If not, sorry, Instagram. We just won't have you tonight. All right. So again, 407-413-9395 is the phone number. And I have some topics to bring to the table. And so let's talk Disney for the next hour. Again. All right. Well, we have our first call of the night. So let's just jump in here and see if the phone lines are working. I'm crazy. I don't think they will, but let's see. We'll cross our fingers. Hey, who's joining us? First call of the night.
I'm crazy. I don't think they.
Hello, caller.
Hello, Mike. Paul Westbrook from East New Jersey.
Paul, what's going on? Can you hear me? Please say you can.
I can hear you just fine.
Good, and I can hear you. It's a modern day miracle because the phones were not working. I was banging on the second MacBook and saying, "Please, mercy me. I don't know why you're not working because everything's hooked up right." But what's going on in New Jersey this weekend?
It's beautiful weather today. It's a nice, spring day. A little bit of Masters golf on the TV, matching weather outside. It's great. I'm certainly feeling your pain though with the. I myself too am very familiar with the April tax day, June tax day, September tax day, and then the final quarter of the year. It's a lot. It's a lot.
The January tax day really hits hard, right? It's like, dude, you're paying for Christmas and you're paying the tax man. That's the one that hurts the worst.
Yep, the first one. It's like I always think of it, right? They get you double on the January because you're paying for Christmas. In April, if you owe tax from the prior year plus your first quarter of the next year, and then in June's only 2 months after. I'm like, that's not even a quarter. That's just 2 months.
I know. That's what I say. But I always overpay my taxes. I'm super conservative that way. So I always get a refund. So at least, and that's usually what pays for my vacation for the summer. Cause that's like, you got to pay 60 days, 90 days ahead for a cruise, whatever. So it's usually and everybody, people get on me like, well, you're giving the government a free loan. I'm like, I'm not real disciplined with my money, so it's just like a savings account. So you know what? Enjoy it, government. That's just how I have to be.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm dating myself here, but it's kind of like the old Christmas club, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Right.
Yep.
Right. I mean, if you got to pave the road with my interest, whatever, maybe I won't have a speed bump in my town. I don't know. But let me ask you this. So real quick with the Masters. So just a couple things. The only drama today was if the guy, Scott, the guy who won, his wife was 9 months pregnant. If you were walking up 18, he said, I mean, it was all over social media. If his wife went into labor because she was pregnant with his first child, he was just going to walk away. Would you make that call? You're walking up big lead in the Masters. Would you walk away to see your firstborn born if you were going to win the Masters?
Family first, Mike.
I agree. But oh man, he's like, please don't call. Don't make me make that
call. yeah. What he hopes happened aside versus what he would do, right? Like, yeah, you're right. He could actually, hopefully, like you said, please don't call. But yeah, I mean, I'd be hypocritical in everything else I do in my life if I didn't follow family first, even in that tough spot, because I have 4, and being there was absolutely, amazing and number one priority.
Oh, I 100% agree. But I noticed, like, because he got like out to a 4-stroke lead with like 3 holes to play. I noticed that dude started just playing quick. He was just like, let's get this thing over with. Let's just keep shooting. Like, there was one time where he wasn't even away, and he kind of looked over to the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, just go ahead. Anyway, what's going on? How's it going?
Oh, that's going pretty good. I guess first of all, congratulations to Mallory.
Thank you.
Haven't been there myself, never with the pressure of the social media announce.
Oh my God.
But having been there myself as a cheer dad, I know how stressful this week is. So congratulations.
Oh man. I prefer the old days when the coach would just tape the piece of paper in his old like chicken scratch handwriting to his door, like the health class door that was, down, because, the health class room was always like in B hall that nobody went down unless you had a freshman health class. So really nobody saw it, except unless you're an athlete or something. But I mean, dude, social media at 3:00, could you make it? I mean, you're trying to like mess with people's minds. It's stressful, but yeah, it worked out. So we're all good. Thank you. Now I can sleep tonight. I'll be able to sleep.
Good. The Magic Kingdom thing I wanted to talk about. Well, first of all, I mean, I just had like a mini trip report. I just was down there for a just missed Scott. Scott and I were in communication. I was getting in the Friday before he was leaving. And I was really for a golf weekend with my son, but we stayed at Saratoga. So got a little bit of Disney, a little bit of golf for a few days. What we did was we got to go to Flying Fish Friday night, which was fantastic dinner. I know Scott went down there on a different day when he was there. We ended up missing. He was at Flying Fish when I was in Disney Springs. So on the only time we could have hooked up, we got to experience the same meal on different days. But little Flying Fish, stayed at Saratoga because what we basically did, my son and I, was we operated out of Saratoga and drove to a few of the local courses, not the Disney courses, but we used it as a base of operations, if you will. So we got good Disney food. We got to, enjoy the amenities of Saratoga, which is, it's very much like close to my heart, like Old Key West. It's a fantastic sprawling resort. So that was good. I mean, like one of our funny quick stories was we stayed at the Carousel all the way on the other end of Congress Park where you'd walk to Disney Springs, but we used Disney Springs a couple other times for dinners. And one night my son was very good at navigating where to get back, and I wasn't sure. We had never stayed at the Carousel, so I could kind of look at the map and then reassured in his directions because, we're the parents. We're not going to just take first of all, we don't want to look foolish. Second of all, we're not going to take our kids for granted. We're going to double check it with the man, trust and verify. But we made that walk a couple times. It was great. But the last time we did, as we were coming back to our room in Saratoga, I could hear this mom with maybe a 10 or 11-year-old looking at the map, trying to figure out how to get where she was going. And my son, who was good, I figured it was a good forced interaction because, my son's in his late 20s, but, you always want to proud of your kids when they can do something to help somebody else. So yep. I said to my son, I said, Austin, I could tell right now out of the corner of my ear, this young lady needs some help getting where she's going. And he's like, yeah, let me help. So he looks on the map. He's like, where are you trying to get to? And she's like, I'm trying to get back to Congress Park. And in my head, I'm thinking, how'd you get lost in the carousel? Right? There's no attraction there. But anyway, he was able to navigate it. But when you saw her face, when he dragged his finger up the map from, no, you're here and you need to get all the way up here. I didn't know, if they were going to need refreshments, if they were going to need a golf cart or something, but they didn't look too happy. But they thanked us and they were on their way. But that was our only funny story navigating Saratoga because it's so big. But no, I had good meals there. I had flying fish, grabbed polite pig one night, the Edison another night, and finished off with a fabulous meal and fireworks at California Grill on the last night. So yeah, it was a good part Disney, part golf trip. Just fun to do. The one thing that got me thinking is, I don't know if you had any questions about the trip or anything you wanted to see how I'm doing. The one thing I was thinking about was all this talk about the Beyond Big Thunder Mountain years out, the next Magic Kingdom expansion, and everybody's excited for it. And who wouldn't be? Disney's, it's time for them to do something to counter the Universal growth.
Agreed.
But all I keep thinking about is, if that expands Magic Kingdom by 7,000 or 10,000 people, man, Main Street's going to be a zoo. It already is sometimes, right?
It is, but I mean, you're going to make you're right, but I mean, you're going to have more space for the people during fireworks. I mean, I'm sure you're thinking like at the end of the night when everybody kind of congregates up there at like 10 o'clock to see Happily Ever After. Again, I'm a huge proponent of having a nighttime parade, which that would kind of even make it worse because everybody would want to get up there and see the prime location. But yeah, I mean, I think this is going to happen. Obviously, we're seeing the pictures and stuff from BioReconstruct and all the, announcements. Disney needs to respond to what Epic Universe has got going on. And I think they need to hit a home run with this. I think that they've had time to kind of think about what they need to do with this land because it is, it's a valuable plot back there. There's not a whole lot more that they can do. They need to do something well with this, and they're so tied to IP. That's the thing, is like IP is a great thing, right? I mean, look at Guardians of the Galaxy, the coaster over at Epcot, like that thing is a hit. Everybody loves that thing. But if you hang this thing, this land or this mini land or whatever you're going to do, the, e-ticket attractions, if you connect this to the wrong IP, you're going to be stuck with that for a decade and it's not going to be great, So if you go IP, you got to make sure it is something that is just a home run received, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause like I've never seen Encanto, and I know I'm not the target audience, but I've never seen Encanto. I've never seen, Inside Out. I'm just not a big movie person. I'm a theme park person. I love the theme parks. I love the experiences. So I think they need to kind of walk that line. Like I like Big Thunder because it's an experience. You know what I'm saying? It's not a movie. It's like a feel, it's like, it takes me to a place. It's not a real place. Frontierland's ambiguous. It's like the West. But I like that feel, and like Tiana's is going to be like New Orleans Square ish, like Disneyland, which I like that feel. I've never been to New Orleans in my life, but I mean, I live in St. Louis. It's a river town. And I like that whole vibe. So like when when I get to experience that, and I got to ask you, because that's one of my questions for my callers today. So let me get off the line before I ask you one more question. But I just wonder, like, they got to hit a home run with that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it could make the park a lot more, crowded in the smaller areas. But I mean, think about it. Disneyland has been dealing with that for decades as they expand the park because it's a lot smaller.
You're right. And I think in the Discord, it came up a little bit and you had answered, they could always, not your favorite, but they can always open up that behind Main Street exit that they use for the parties to free up traffic. Because you're right, Mike. I'm solely thinking about, fireworks time, leaving, how everybody funnels through Main Street to go. In my head, I brought up a Google Maps and I'm like, wow, would there be any way to have a double entrance, have a expanded park with a second exit entrance, but with the highways in and around the area they're talking about expansion? I don't think that's feasible. You're right. I mean, it would be nice. They need to expand. They need that land. It's a small part of the day that's going to create that bottleneck at Main Street. I, for one, I don't have a feeling of what I'd like to go there. I know in Encanto they're talking about an Animal Kingdom too, so I don't know if I want to see that duplicated. But I'd like to it seems the popular pick, and Disney's 50-50 on listening to their guests, would be that Villains Land, right? They seem to want that Villains Land, which does tie in not so much with Big Thunder, but with the Haunted Mansion being on the other end, and then just isolated Big Thunder, which is a fantastic thing, and you wouldn't want to see that isolated either. I always thought you could, put a Villains themed or a Haunted Mansion themed restaurant on Tom Sawyer Island and then have Villains themed behind Big Thunder Mountain. But you're right. Like, whatever they do, it has to be right. They have to do it, and hopefully they listen to some popular opinion.
Well, it seems to me they like the idea of a Villain's Land, but they never act on it. Like, they've liked this idea for 2 decades. They were going to do it at Animal Kingdom, but they never acted on it. I mean, they've thrown this idea, they've toyed with it forever, but they've never acted upon it. I think that they get to the verge of it and then they almost chicken out with the Villain's Land. Like they almost want to do it, but I think they're scared to do it. Will they do a whole land? Because I mean, again, like I saw this special that Disney used to run probably 20 years ago on the Travel Channel. It was about when they constructed, like, I forget, one of the Imagineers was talking about when they make hotels and when they make cruise ships, this is something that's going to be around for decades. So they have to get it right. It's one of those things like, you got to get it right because you're going to be looking at it forever. Like, it's going to be there for, a long time. So I'm excited though, because think about it though. I mean, you talk about, they can't have a second entrance or exit, but it's Disney. They could. I mean, think about Epcot. Epcot's got the International Gateway and it works. If you had a non-traditional entrance and exit, via a Skyliner type system, it's kind of a secondary, way in and out, where you only arrive via some form of transportation other than car.
I didn't think about a Skyliner. That's really good thought. Yeah, because you're right. If anybody could do it, it's Disney and the Imagineers. If they could, me looking at Google Earth and saying, "No, I don't think you could fit one there," means nothing with what I'm sure they could create. That would be very cool. Now you alleviated the Main Street problem. You have, like you said, the International Gateway works. It gives Magic Kingdom another boost. That would be really neat. I mean, as long as Mike, as long as they don't do the Coke Freestyle Land.
Oh my God! That would just that'd just be now. I was going to sleep tonight. Now I'm not going to sleep again because I would think that land's going. Okay, real quick because I got some other people wanting to get in. Share. AJ wants to share a story about Josh Tomorrow, but I got to hear that one. But here's my question for everybody. We're going to do a little over under. A little over under. So,
okay.
Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Over under. So before or after the 4th of July, the general public gets to ride this attraction. So before, after, is that going to happen?
Before would be under, right?
So let's just say before or after. So before Independence Day or after Independence Day, are regular people going to ride this attraction?
Oh, Mike, with the NFL draft coming and that music being played,
hang on.
You got me. You definitely got me on the over under, but I understand what you're asking. Before or after? Let you get to other callers. I'm going to say before.
Before, with the first pick. Paul says before. I forgot I had that on the board.
I'm going to go before.
All right. We have one for before. Okay. So we're optimistic because we were late. Okay. So we have one for before the 4th of July. All right. Well, Paul, hey, thanks for kicking it off. And it's so good to talk to you. Have an awesome week and hope to talk to you next week.
Same here, Mike. You take care. Thank you.
Take care, brother. See ya. Bye-bye. All righty, 407-413-9395 when the phone lines, when somebody drops, that means somebody else can call in and call. Caller, you there? I heard you for a second.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, who's this? Hello?
Hey, Mike, it's AJ from Philadelphia.
Hey, Jay, what's going on?
Hey, not much. Hey, I called a few months ago. I was asking about like the Disney dining plan, and we were talking a little bit. I think I mentioned, I don't know if you remember that Mickey Mouse trademark story and about that going away. That was me a few months ago.
Yep, I remember.
But yeah. Well, I've been listening ever since, and I've been listening here for a few years probably now. And I had an interesting story. I see you're talking about Beyond Big Thunder. I actually ran into Josh Diamaro on my last trip at the end of February.
So did he give you the scoop?
Pretty interesting.
Did you guys sit down and chew the fat about Beyond Big Thunder? And you know?
So that's exactly what was going through my mind, because we were at Topolino's. I think actually when I called last time, I mentioned we're going to go to Topolino's, and I was like, I know my wife's going to get hooked, and that'll be our resort. So we went to Topolino's, and we're sitting down, and I kind of thought it was unusual at first. Like, it was a lot of staff. Like, I know it's a nice restaurant, but like the host, there was multiple hostess and people walking your tables. And I was like, man, this place is top notch. And we sit down, and I don't know if you're familiar, like, Topolino's in like the back corner where they have like that private room there.
Yeah.
We were pretty much right next to that private room. I'm like, okay, cool. And we're sitting there and, ordering, the first probably appetizers. And then in walks Jeff Volley. I think he's the president of Walt Disney World.
Okay.
And me, being a Disney, nerd, I said, that's Jeff Volley. He's the president. And then sure enough, then right after him, Josh Diamaro walked in. And needless to say, I was very distracted the entire dinner.
So you're like, if I could just sit at that table, I could
exactly.
Find some scoop.
But my wife, she could tell, like, my kids are there and they're doing their thing. And like, my wife's talking to me and she's like, do you have any idea what I just said? I was like, no, I'm trying to listen to what they're saying in this room next to me.
So were they, I mean, obviously, was it like late? I mean, do you think it was a working dinner? Was it?
Yeah. So I asked then the waiter, who was awesome. I forget his name. He was from like Rancho Cucamonga, I believe, California. And I asked him, I was like, hey, what's the deal? Like, and he said it was the whole board. It was actually the day that he shot the promotional video for Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Okay.
I think he shot the promotional video in the morning, and then they had a board meeting. And from what I heard is Josh and his wife were actually staying at the Riviera then as well.
That makes
sense.
And
then and there's probably about 8 of the board members kind of then came in, and then they had their whole dinner. Like, I'm literally on the other side of that. Like, it's kind of like I don't know, how would you describe, like a wood wall kind of, but you can see through it. And I'm literally on the other side there, like trying to listen. Like, oh, did he approve Beyond Big Thunder? Like, what's going on? Like,
do you think?
I had no idea.
Do you think
what my wife was saying?
Do you think anybody else in the restaurant like knew that's who was in there, or do you think you were the only one that
Josh Ball? I think when Josh Ball walked in, he didn't like get any response. But then when Josh Diamaro walked in, someone did I see like stop to get a picture, and I was going to. But then I was like, I don't want to be that guy. And honestly, I probably would have complained about some of the progress they've been making recently.
See, that's the thing. Maybe I think he's pretty cool though with fans like asking for a picture. Yeah. I mean, I think he actually. I mean, that's. Yeah. You're right. I don't know if I would either. I mean, I'm just kind of weird that way, but he is pretty cool.
But
yeah, that makes sense though, that they would kind of like be at the Riv, and that makes sense. They're having dinner there, and he was shooting. Yeah, this all checks out.
So we were getting all that stuff done, and then because I didn't know he shot that thing that day, but then I obviously saw like it come out the next day or whenever it did. I'm like, oh, that was exactly what he was wearing. And just knew, he was getting all that stuff done.
So what if he would have come over to your table and said, you know what, AJ, you're a fan, and we're sitting around our table here in the private room, but we're curious. What would you're a fan? What should we do with Beyond Big Thunder? What would your like one tip to him be? Like, what should they do with that to make it a home run? I was
thinking about it. Yeah, I was thinking like, what if I did come up with what would I say? And for me, I think I was afraid that they were stifling the Imagineering with, Joe Rohde leaving kind of gave me some awkward vibes where I feel like they weren't exactly seeing eye to eye, and Joe didn't feel maybe he had his like creative freedom. So that, that's what I was going to offer is let the Imagineers run wild, right? And try and fail, like try and then fail. Like that's how SpaceX got to where they are.
Uh-huh.
If you ever heard like the NASA, everything has to be exactly perfect and it takes forever. And they get it right, but they do it one time and it costs, $10 billion. And then SpaceX has more of like an iterative approach to try and fail and figure it out, which I feel like that's kind of what Universal Creative is doing. And it's not always going to work out, but, let those creative people run wild and, give them that financial backing to do so.
I like that. That's interesting because I think with NASA, that's super philosophical because with NASA, right,
Yeah.
you're dealing with like life and death. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
can't,
Oh yeah.
you have to be super careful. But like Elon Musk, like with SpaceX and stuff, he's throwing stuff out there that's unmanned for the most part. First,
Yeah.
but 10 shots. You know what I'm saying? So he
Yeah.
shoots stuff up because again, I was a science. I worked as I actually was employed by NASA when I taught at Space Camp. I worked at Marshall
Yep.
Space Flight Center. And the thing is, you learn through failure, right? But because you collect
Exactly.
data, and that's exactly what he's doing because he has enough money to do that. He'll do something. The rocket will blow up after 2 minutes, but he collects data, and I mean, great data for
Yeah.
2 minutes, and then the next rocket goes 3 minutes, and you get more data, and you learn, and you expand on. So yeah, with a theme park, you're right. I mean, you throw it out there, you see what sticks, what people like, what people don't, and hopefully you do build on it, and that's a great philosophy because it isn't life or death. But you don't want to make something so terrible though that, like, for example, like, here's my biggest example. I think that's been the biggest failure in the last couple of decades. Mission Space. That thing sits there. Nobody. And again, it kills me because I love space. But that thing's a dud, and it just sits there, takes up prime real estate.
Yeah. Now I'll say I do go on that with my kids though. The green one, they find it pretty exciting. But yeah, I agree. It had made a lot more potential. But it's like, try and fail. Just try and fail. Not everything has to be like a Mona Lisa.
I
agree. You do a great job with that. But like I like to see more of like the little wins here and there, and not have it take 5 and 6 years. Like my disappointment is they get so built up, and then you wait and wait and wait, and then it gets diminished, and then it's maybe not exactly what they advertise is maybe my frustration. But I'm still a diehard Disney fan.
No, I am too. And I heard Len and Jim talking about this. I think it was Len and Jim, one of the other shows the other day, except I'm as big of a fan of podcasts as I am making them.
Yeah.
And the discussion was, and I think they're talking about the studios. Like the studios, what it's lacking is like smaller attractions, right? They have a lot of e-ticket attractions, but they don't have the smaller things. And I was thinking, that's exactly right. Like, and the thing is I like a good, Rise the Resistance or Rocket Roller Coaster, or Tower of Terror, Slinky Dog Dash as much as the next guy. But I'm also a fan of, like, over at Animal Kingdom and Navi River Journey. I'm a huge fan of that, even though it's a smaller attraction. I like to be able to take in this. That's why I've really fallen in love since I've gone to Disneyland in 2022 and been back a few other times since. I love doing things like the Storybook Canal boats. Fantasyland is just amazing. It's just the smaller attractions, they're repeatable and they're just pleasurable. And it's just, you get a sense of story, you get a sense of time and place, and they feel comfortable. You don't always have to go 100 miles an hour with your hair on fire, I think.
Yeah. It's almost like the movies too, right? So they try to make every movie a blockbuster. It's like, well, no, just give us some like lower budget things and see what the creative people can do. And, you'll have the Blair Witch Project success, right? And you'll find that not everything has to be this huge blockbuster budget thing.
I agree.
But you can tell that I'm pitching you now instead of Josh, but this is what I was going to tell him.
Well, no, but it's an interesting conversation. When this show goes out on Thursday on the feed, hopefully when people hear it, whether they're hearing it over in England or hearing it down in Australia, here in the States, driving to school, whatever on a run, it does kind of make us all think, like, what would we say to Josh tomorrow if we saw him, and what would our goals be? Because, we're all Disney fans. We all have different backgrounds, but I think we all come from a place where we just want to see Walt Disney World be at its best. And we all have different philosophies on what that is. But I think what you said makes so much sense. Let's don't wait 7 years for the next thing to happen because we want it to be perfect. We want it to be, $1 billion project. Let's see some progress in 18 months that we can start to access. Let's be able to.
And that's where the people will be even more creative then too, right? It's
right.
Like I don't have $1 billion. I have 100 million. How creative can I be to make the best product? Well,
and two, you mentioned Joe Rohde. Were you excited to see that he was in Epcot this past week?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think he's just the culture that he brings was, that's Imagineering. That's Imagineering at its finest right there. So to have him and his opinions and back in the game, I think is huge. So I appreciate that they recognize that, and now they're trying to course correct.
And that's what I think too. I think that's really kind of cool on both sides, right? Because I think that it could have been, Joe Rody could have been hurt by how Disney did him, and saying, what, dude,
Yeah.
I'm burning that bridge. I'm never going, but because he's not young, right? And he's made his, he doesn't need Disney anymore, to be honest. And, Disney could be like, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing without him. You know what I'm saying? It makes me hope when I saw Joe Rody back at Imagineering, and especially back in Epcot, like walking around Epcot, the word is hopeful. Like, because bridges can be mended, and when that happens, good can happen. You know what I'm saying? So is it going to be like kumbaya and everything's fixed overnight? Probably not, but it's better than it probably was 6 months ago, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's the culture. It's how are they going to bring back that creative culture?
Exactly. And Disney, like, there's some companies that are just based on culture. Disney, Apple, like you said. The culture is huge because having Joe Rody around, it's like a ball player, right? When you have a veteran ball player and a rookie. You don't even have to talk to that person. You watch them. You watch how they come into the room. You watch how they handle their supplies, how they go about their day. And it makes you make you a better Imagineer. You just watch how his process.
And how they observe things and they process things and how they really stew things over and think about it. It's great to see that he's back in the mix.
I agree.
But it was funny, and I was sitting there, and this is what was going through my mind the whole time. My wife's like, "You're not paying attention to anything I'm saying." I was like,
the least romantic Topolino's dinner for your wife ever, because of that.
Yes, and it was a beautiful dinner. I loved the dinner. But I don't know what my wife was saying.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like my wife. She'd be like, "Oh well, just go over there and have dinner with your boyfriend Josh, and I'll meet you. I'll meet you back at the Skyliner."
Yeah, and I really wanted to say something, but then I was like, "This is his place. I don't want to get kicked out of here. I'm having a good vacation. I don't want to make him mad."
Exactly. How was the dinner at Topolino's? Pretty good.
Oh yeah, and actually we did the dining plan, but we ended up paying for this. So we did what's the pizza via Napoli for lunch, and I had the steak there for of course the dining plan. I'm trying to get the most expensive thing.
But you had you had the steak at Via Napoli?
Yeah,
I didn't even know they had steak at Via Napoli. I always get pizza.
It was good. It was really good because I was like, all right, I'm on the dining plan. I gotta get the best of here.
I didn't even know they had that.
I got the steak, and then for dinner I was like, I didn't want to have steak again. And I didn't, and I was like, the chicken rigatoni, I was like, maybe I'll do that. And then there was also a fish, and my wife got the one fish. I was like, oh, I can't get that. And then the only other fish had capers in it. And I'm not a big capers fan. And when I ordered the chicken rigatoni, the guy kind of looked at me like, I don't know about that. And I was like, what? He's like, I would recommend this fish. And I was like, well, I don't like capers. He's like, well, no problem. We won't put it in there. And it was the best fish I've ever had. So I'm so happy that he kind of corrected that. And I ended up with an amazing meal. I think my wife loved it. The kids loved it. We went outside on the terrace, before our meal came, and it was great.
Yeah, I had the chicken rigatoni when I was there, and that stuff rocked too. So I don't think you get a bad thing there. And like you said, the view is incredible up there. They nailed it with that place. Yeah,
so it was good. And the other kind of humorous thing I was going to mention is, we did the dining plan, and I was an annual pass holder, like 5 years ago when my son was about 1, and we got the free dining, and then we just got it again now that it's back. And my observation is my first trip 5 years ago, the dining plan was the rule, not the exception, right? Where, every time we sat down, you're on the dining plan. Yes. Now, this time, every time we sat down, they never asked us. They just assumed we did not have it.
Right.
And I would always have to ask the people and remind them, I am on the dining plan. And there was a few snafus, I would say, where at Ohana, I ordered the back scratcher. And I did my research, and it was, I think it was everything under $17 you can get on the dining plan. And the back scratcher is $16. And then I guess the waiter's like, well, no, you can't get that. I was like, really? I was like, I thought it was under 17. And then he went back and checked, and he's like, oh, no, you can get it. And I guess maybe it could have been excluded because it actually came with a back scratcher. So maybe that was, but that was
because you get a little souvenir with it. Yeah, good call. You're using your dining plan right. I love it.
yeah. And so I was like, are you sure it's not included? And he went back and checked, and then the first night at Boma, again the same thing. This is our first night and the first dinner. I wanted to get the the drink with like a ice or the colorful ice, the glowing ice, so I could give it to my kids.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, sure, here you go. And then it turned out that was excluded from the dining plan. But the server had told me it was. And then he, unbeknownst to me, he was trying to correct it. And he couldn't get the system to fix. So, we had woken up at 3 a.m. It was our first night. It's like 8 o'clock at night. The kids are ready to pass out. I'm ready to pass out. And this guy took like 20 minutes to get us the check because he couldn't figure out how to remove that from the dining plan. And then the receipt came, and I kid you not, the receipt was 6 feet long because he had to like cancel it and redo it again. It was a 6 foot long receipt. I had a picture of it with myself. Like I'm tall and I'm holding it, and it's like a CVS receipt on steroids.
No, you're right though, because back the dining plan since COVID and since it all went away and they've reintroduced it, it's not. It hasn't picked up the momentum that it had. I think just because people, are not as aware of it. It was all the hotness pre-COVID, and then I think people just, because it was gone for so long, that it's going to take a little bit to kind of catch its momentum again. Still good value though, if you use all those credits, especially like you're using them, you're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we enjoyed it, and my wife and I, I got my first Ronto wrap, and I got the beer with it, got the Ronto wrap. And it was just nice because I would say I wouldn't normally probably get like an alcoholic drink, but since it was there, I was like, hey, yeah, why not? And, we enjoyed that. And obviously all the meals then too were fantastic.
Man, sounds like you had a good so what, you guys were just down, just a few weeks ago?
February 27th to March 3rd, I think.
Man.
5 nights, Animal Kingdom Lodge, Kidani Village. Really enjoyed that. Highly recommend that. Buses worked out well. The kids love the pool. So it's a big resort though. That would be my caution. It's a big resort, a lot of walking.
It is a big resort. And, because when I stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge for runners, like people that like to run at the resort, there's like the moderates are great for running because they have like running paths, around them. Animal Kingdom Lodge, if you're staying there, you got to run at a treadmill. I mean, that's it. There's nowhere to run there. You got to go to the Jumbo House has a fitness center.
Right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the fitness center at the Jumbo
gym.
House. Yeah. Which is nice. I mean, but you just gotta, that's a sacrifice there, but that's not a bad sacrifice. And I'll say, I enjoy, there's 2 very different pool areas. If you stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jumbo House has a really nice feature pool. And then Kidani's got that kind of across the parking lot, that little, well, not really kind of a medium-sized pool, but it's got a lot of water features the kids tend to really like.
We love the kids. I mean, that was the kids' favorite part is, when are we going to the pool? When are we going to the pool? It's like, guys, we got to go to the parks first, and then we'll come back and go to the pool. And they had a blast. Like we the whole family had a blast, as usual. So
that's what it's all about. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And I think you had said the line before, my wife, we went, actually, this is our 3rd winter in a row. And I think you had said before, they're only little for a little.
Yep.
And that's what I used to pull my wife's heartstrings, back in like October. It's like, they're only gonna be little for a little, they're 6 and 4 now. And she's like, all right, let's go again.
Dude, I'm telling you what, man, just 2 hours ago, my daughter made the cheerleading squad for her junior year of high school. And I am not joking. 5 minutes ago, she was 6 years old in that Kidani pool, like going down the slides. It goes fast. Yeah. So you take those vacations and make the memories, man, because all of a sudden, I mean, like my wife turned to me, we were going to get ice cream, I think last night, and Mallory was off at a high school party. And she's like, I forgot what I said. I was like, when's Mallory coming home? Well, she spent the night with her friends after the party. I've talked to the parents, blah, blah, blah. She's like, well, you realize this is going to be the norm. Like, we're going to be empty nesters in 2 years. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, don't even say that aloud. I'm like, I was pulled off the highway. I'm like, stop. Yeah. I'm like, don't ever say that again. Like, I love being a parent. I love having my kids home. So yeah, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying, enjoy every moment. Take all the vacations, man.
One of my favorite moment was my son and I went on Space Mountain, and my 6-year-old, he's tall enough. So I was like, let's go on Space Mountain. And he loved it. And I don't know, I had the Genie Plus. So, the Genie Plus is usually on the right side. Well, for some reason they routed me to the left side, which I guess I don't go on that one as much. And when I left the exit, I honestly had no idea. I just started, I went off the exit and turned left. And then I started to go up a hill. And I was like, okay, this doesn't sound right. I'm starting to hear the track. And then a cast member walks down, and she said, I was like, am I going the right way? I was like, where's the exit? She's like, no, you're going the wrong way. She's like, but do you want to ride again? I was like, what? She's like, yeah, do you want to ride again? And I asked my son, he's like, you want to go? He's like, yeah, let's go.
Yes.
And, it was a magical moment, and, just completely, honest mistake. And she's like, let's go. And we went on twice then. And then coming out of there's a photo pass, and I was like, hey, let's get our picture. And I'll just always remember this. He's as tall as my hips, and he just puts his arm around me. Like, he was having a good time, and we got our picture together there.
That's a good cast member seeing an opportunity to make some magic. So shout out to that cast member for doing that. And that's what it's all about. It's about the small
Mickey told me you were coming. He told me you were coming, and why don't we go on again? So I was like, all right.
That is awesome. Well, hey, great call. I mean, this has been so fun to talk about your trip, and I'm glad you got to make all these great memories, and thanks for sharing them with us. What a great way to spend a Sunday
I'll keep
night.
listening. I listen to you guys driving to and from work, and it always keeps me thinking about the next trip.
Hey, that makes my day. I appreciate it so much, AJ. You take care, and don't be a stranger. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, will do. All right. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All righty. The number is 407-413-9395. That's 407-413-9395 if you want to talk Disney. So we had a lot of before afters for I forgot to ask AJ what his before after was going to be for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So I said, I put the date, the 4th of July, before after our guests going to be on this rethemed attraction in Frontierland. Francis so here's what we have in the chat so far. Francois says before. John Price says before. Thomas Perk says before. We have some optimistic listeners, or a lot of people that have vacations before the 4th of July. Jason Miller says after the 4th of July. A.B. Vassar says before. Troy says before. Everybody's leaning before. Rhonda Lee up in Canada says before. Who else? Let's see here. Andrea says before. Almost everybody says before. Man, you guys are super optimistic. I guess, we've got testing happening, right? There's people in it. There's all it's getting there. I don't know. We'll see. We're getting close. Oh, Andrea again before. Carolyn says before. AJ says before. AJ's in the chat now. John says before. So everybody in the chat says before the 4th of July. So what this means, it'll probably be after. No, I hope it is before the 4th of July. I think, here's my logic. And I said this, I did say this. You can go back and find the tape, which as many shows as we do, there's no way I could ever find when I said this, but I did say this probably 6 months ago. It's an all-American attraction, right? It's based out of the American South, like the story, it's Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I said a long time ago, they should open this thing on the 4th of July. It's the American holiday. What if they do? They're not going to do this because it's a holiday and it's busy and the logistics of it all. But this should open on the 4th of July. If you want to really theme it, that'd be cool. But they won't. So anyway. All right. 407-413-9395. Another thing we could talk about tonight is the retheming of Test Track. So Test Track is going to be rethemed. We saw the news, I think it was last week, that they're going to take Test Track down in June for a retheming again. How many of you out there rode the original Test Track? We can go back even further than that. So before Test Track, we had World of Motion. I never got to do World of Motion, which kind of bums me out because that, again, this makes me kind of sound old, but that was my speed. I would have loved to have done World of Motion because, as I've said on the podcast, probably one of my top 3, if not my favorite all-time ride is, yes, the phone lines are open, 407-413-9395. You want to give us a call? Call in. If I had to list my top 3 rides, Living with the Land would be in there. And I think World of Motion is kind of like Living with the Land on land from what I've seen. But I never got to do it, so it's kind of a shame. But we have our next call, so hold that thought, and we'll talk Test Track in just a second. All right, hey, we have our next call. Who's joining us?
Hey, Mike, it's Thomas.
Perk, how you doing?
Hey, Thomas, co-host extraordinaire from about 10 days ago. What's going on out your way?
You know what? I don't know how you do this, Mike. I've been fending off the autographs and the selfie
Headshots.
requests.
Headshots, and they stamp them like Bob Barker back in the day.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you do this for a living.
It's very easy. I've never signed an autograph. It's super easy. I never got a callus, never had to do it. It's super simple. No, so real quick though. So you are on team before 4th of July for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. How confident are you in that prediction?
Oh, I'm very confident. I think it's definitely going to happen. For the very least, I put it in the chat for DVC AP holders, definitely before 4th of July.
Ooh. Okay, so I mean, because we're basically middle of April, so they still have a good month and a half. I mean, because it looks like that's my problem. It looks done, but I mean, we don't get to peek on the inside. But I mean, it's also just a retheming of an existing attraction. I mean, how much could there be on the inside that isn't done, right? I guess.
Yeah, they don't have to do too much in terms of like track or trying to time things. Everything is already kind of in place. They just have to redesign it, and I'm looking forward to it. I would love to be out there when it opens, but yeah, I think between Test Track closing in June and Communicore Hall opening with Epcot, everything going on in Epcot and Animal Kingdom, I think they definitely are shooting for June, and you'll see DVC AP pass holders sometime in June.
So they would have to get the word out here pretty soon, though, if they want to get. I mean, I guess they assume most AP holders are kind of geographically close, where you don't have to make. I mean, it doesn't. We're speaking to the outliers, right? Like I'm an AP holder in Missouri, and we have AP holders that are in like the UK. I mean, our audience is scattered everywhere. A lot of them are AP holders, so we are not like the normal people. But most AP holders are within driving distance, so they don't have to worry about like making plans 2 months out. Like they could probably drive in for a weekend or something to get a room for a couple days. But
yeah,
if they're going to do that in June, they need to get the word out probably in the next few weeks, I would think.
Yeah, but they might also just try to be cautious too, because they don't want to say, hey, we're going to let AP holders do it first week of June, and now it's the second week, and understandably people like, hey, I made a whole trip to come out from Missouri. So
yeah.
But I think we'll see. I think we'll see real people on it in June. I think they have to. Capacity, things closing down. I think it's going to happen.
Plus, I mean, if bookings are at all any kind of soft, for the summer, then you're going to see it on TV as a marketing, push. Because
definitely,
that's definitely something that's going to be easy to put on a commercial because it's a very visual attraction.
Yeah, exactly. I know there's some talk about like Beyond Big Thunder, and you talked about that earlier. I'm very curious on what's all going to happen with that Frontierland. Because I personally love Frontierland, and we're losing the shooting gallery, understandably. It's going to be a DVC lounge.
Is that for sure? I did read that. Is that guaranteed? Is it, because that hurts me. It's like when Sid Cahuenga's went away for the Fast Pass, like helper stand. That's sad. Oh, I hate every time I see that just bothers me.
Yeah. Well, it's every time you see something that was like opening day that gets shut down or lost, like that's a sting. I get why they're getting rid of it, but I'm pretty sure. I thought like in May it's definitely closing. I've read it where it's.
I read the headline, but I was hoping that was not true. I was hoping that it was maybe because I think that the beauty of a theme park, right? It's in the combination of big and small, like major and minor, and in between, like E-ticket, A-ticket, but also C. And I think a Frontierland shooting arcade, while 90% of the people are not going to experience it, I think it's there because like a grandpa might take his granddaughter over there for 7 minutes and they might shoot a couple of raccoons. But you know what? That might be something they talk about 7 years later. And it might be cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep it for that reason. Is it worth it? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? And DVC is probably gonna, if you're looking at cost per guest, and I'm sure that's exactly what they're looking at. So you're right. It probably wins, but
Well,
that's why I don't work in business.
I remember when they announced that it was making it free because they were getting rid of it. And that was years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought they just made it free because of COVID.
Going to it.
I thought it was a COVID
because
thing.
I thought it was going to go.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish it wasn't going away, but if it is, it had a run.
I mean, I personally love it.
I do too.
I always see lots of people there.
Me too.
So.
Me too. It's so like, I mean, it's what you have at like a theme park, but it is kind of amusement park-ish, but yeah, whatever.
But I don't know. I'm interested, and I'm interested on Beyond Big Thunder. Obviously, I think as like Disney fans, we probably kind of know they have to. They're finishing up Epcot. They're really going to hit hard with Animal Kingdom, and then it's going to be Magic Kingdom probably next. So it'll be a while before we actually see anything beyond Big Thunder, but I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I just don't know what, I hope they do well with Beyond Big Thunder, and really I want it to be like I want them to keep the Frontierland-ish, like New Orleans Square-ish, like feel of it, moving back in that quadrant of the park. I want it to be like, like the oranges, the browns, I don't want it to be like Fantasyland-ish, and I don't even know if I want it to be villains. I like that, like you said, I like that Frontierland, Adventureland type feel of that corner, like that quarter of the park. I want it to continue.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be anything that's, fantasy or Tomorrowland-ish. Like it needs to stay like adventure/frontier, like that kind of color scheme and all that. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think it's one of those things where it's classic, where it's never really going to go out of style. Everyone's always going to think about like a Frontierland, a Western. It's a classic Americana.
I hope so. Yeah.
My only fear with like Beyond Big Thunder is Rivers of America.
That's true.
You read a little bit into it where some like, they might just get rid of the river or block off a section of the river so the boats can't go around. That's my big fear.
Are you worried about losing? What about Tom Sawyer Island?
Yeah, I don't even I like Tom Sawyer Island, but I don't know if I'd be too. I wouldn't cry over losing it, but I would cry over losing the Rivers of America.
Yeah, because even that's a great. This is another philosophical question. We're gonna have to carry this over for next week too, because even if you don't go on the Liberty Bell, see the Rivers of America is more key to Disneyland because you have more vessels. You got the canoes, you got the Columbia sailing ship, you have the Mark Twain. So you got 3 different ways you can experience it. You just got the Liberty Bell at Walt Disney World, but at the Magic Kingdom. But it adds a beauty. It has the boardwalk there in Frontierland, but Tom Sawyer Island is interesting, right? Because a lot of times I don't go over there because I just think it is too much, and I'm doing air quotes here. It's like too much work, right? Because you got to go over, you got to get on a raft. The rafts are kind of a pain, but it's also part of when I do it though, I'm like, these rafts are kind of fun. You got to stand up and like you got to raft over. That's kind of fun once you actually do it. But it takes a little bit of time. Then you go over there and, you run around the tunnels, and the tunnels are fun, and go into the Fort Langhorne and play around. And then you come back, but you find that did you waste an hour? Did you have a great time for an hour? Usually I have a great time for an hour. Then you got to take the thing back, the little raft over. It's fun, but sometimes I just like in my head, I just think of it as work. I don't know why that is. And I think a lot of guests are that way.
Yeah. Because I think there's not much, it's all self-entertainment over there. And I've never experienced it. there used to be, or there is, like a quick service restaurant.
Yeah,
on
Aunt
Palm
Polly's.
Soda
Yeah,
Island.
Aunt Polly's. It sold like lemonade and like little sandwiches and little snacks. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I've been over there, it's been closed.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah, and it's always been disappointing. So I think you're right. It's work because you have to entertain yourself. No one's really entertaining you, if that makes sense.
I agree.
But yeah.
But like Carolyn says right now on Facebook in our chat, she says Tom Sawyer Island's the one place where kids can run and play like a kid in the Magic Kingdom. You know, and I agree. I mean, what it is, it's basically, again, not to sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but it's like what we used to do in my generation as kids. You know, like we would just go out and explore. You know, and that's kind of what you do on this island. It's self-contained, and you can go into some caves and you can kind of run around in some caves and, like, you know, hide from your buddy and jump out and scare them if you want. Your parents, jump out and scare your parents. You can go into Fort Langhorne and there's little secret hatches, you know, or secret passageways to go through. You can climb up top. You can pretend like you're, you know, shooting down at the bad guys, go down, you know, the skate poles. I mean, it's a good time, but my problem is, again, this is probably Disney's problem to run into. Kids don't imagine things like that anymore. Probably like that was super cool in my day. Maybe kids don't even like look at that stuff and think that it, like, do they still want to climb up in a fort? Do they want to climb through caves? Like I thought that was like the coolest, but I would think every kid still has an innate desire to do that, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Carolyn changed my mind. She's right. But,
I don't know. Like, and I'm in, you know, my degrees in elementary education, and my, you know, I'm just a big question mark. Like, do kids want this anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I think they do, but then it's so easy to just open up an app on a phone.
It is.
Entertain yourself.
But easy's not always fulfilling. You know what I'm saying? Like it's easy, but you know, it's I don't have to tell you this. Like you absolutely know this. You know, you've served in the military. And I mean, you absolutely get this. Like, it's easy is easy, right? But when you do something that's hard, it's fulfilling, it's rewarding. There's a feeling from doing something that you worked at and that took a little bit of oomph to get it done. And I think that, you know, physical play and exploration, there's more joy in that than opening up an app on a phone or in a, you know, on an electronic device every day. I'd get off my soapbox.
No, and you know, you're right. And I think there are some good things that like Disney does, and I've never experienced, we've never done it as a family, but I want to do like in Epcot when they have those the game plays in Epcot. You would know because I've never done it, but like the old Phineas and Ferb adventures where you go around Epcot, and now they're integrating like physical things with the phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I crazy or am I?
No. Yeah. Like, So things. Yeah. So if you can like make things move around World Showcase. Yeah. Throughout your adventure. Yeah. Yeah. Like you look up at the Eiffel Tower and so forth. Things happen. Yep.
Yeah. So I think maybe like Disney's doing a great job of trying to integrate like a combination of that physical play along with, you know, in-app or on your mobile device, you know, interactions. So I don't know. I'm getting old, Mike.
I think we all are every day. We're getting, you know, a day older each day. But the thing is, I think we all just want what's best for everybody, and everybody has a different opinion of that. But you know, everything can't be electronic, and you got to have a good balance too. And I understand, like, things can't stay stale, right? We all know that Walt himself said that these parks can't be museums. Things are going to change. So if the Frontier Shooting Gallery does have to go away, I'm not going to pout about it. Maybe it does. But like when I hear that it has to go away for like a DVC booth, that's not, you know, to me, that's not great. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was going for something that I could experience, that's better. Like, I just wonder what Walt would say about that, because that's
Yeah.
that I don't think that's exactly what he had in mind. You know what I'm saying? Like with that, like we're going to change things as the years go over. We're going to take out a shooting gallery for a DVC sales stand. Like maybe that isn't exactly what philosophically he was saying.
No, I think you're 100% right. If you're going to take away an attraction and limit the people who could experience it, I don't think that's what Walt meant. I could understand taking the shooting gallery away for, a variety of reasons and turning it into something else, but not something that like you or I could not experience because we're not part of that club. And the DVC they're important. They're an important part of the Disney community. I'm not trying to take that away from them, but I think you're right. If it's something that not everyone could experience, I don't think that was part of what Walt meant by this isn't a museum.
Yeah. I mean, what I think is a good example would be what they did with Epcot. You know what I'm saying? They took out the Fountain of Nations that was there for a time and a place, a couple decades, and they replaced it with a whole new reimagining of that area. And now it's a little bit more functional for the 2020s. It's got places where you can sit and put a laptop and plug in, and places where you can enjoy a coffee, because we're like I'm not, but a lot of people like to have their coffees and enjoy them in like an urban park environment. There's a lot of places to do that. It's updated. You know what I'm saying? It's still a place where people can gather, but it's just more modern. It's changed, and I think it kind of fits. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish there was still a water feature. I love the Fountain of Nations. Don't get me wrong. I love the music and how the fountains danced. But this new area is pretty cool too, especially at night. So, things gotta change. It's fine. It'll be fine. I'm good.
Yeah, that's accessible. I think like Disney fans understand that we, it's not going to be the same for our grandkids as it was when we were children.
Right. Like I was saying before I took your call, I never got to do World of Motion, and I wish I would have. But I got to do the first test track, and like some of my friends that here that are friends of the show never got to do the first test track. So we all come in at different places, and that's kind of how things are always going to be.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Well, I'll
Good
let
call.
you go. I don't know if anyone else wants to call in or if it's.
I think we got one more call. We're going to sneak in one more call here before we go, because I got somebody coming in from 636 in St. Louis. All right. Well, hey, Thomas, thanks for the call, buddy. You have a good week.
You too.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later.
All right. We have one more call for the night, and it looks like it's from St. Louis, Missouri. Hey, who's calling?
Hey, Mike. It's Rob over here in Moscow Mills. How's it going?
Hey, Moscow Mills. I know some people up in Moscow Mills. My in-laws live in Moscow Mills.
Oh, good people. Hey, Mike. I know you're a big fan of the restaurants in Coronado, and we're getting ready to go here in about a month. And we got reservations at Maya Grill. We've never been. Me and my wife and 3 kids, 10, 8, and 5. But we like 3 Bridges. Like, what would you do, Mike? Would you go 3 Bridges? Or are you going Maya Grill?
So Maya Grill is going to be a more substantial meal. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like to me, I mean, are you like you're from Missouri. Like you got to like have a good meal, right? You're more of like you're not like a small plates kind of guy. Like you want like a meal, right? You want like fajitas or something like that, right?
Absolutely. Some substance.
Yeah. Okay. Maya Grill. Oh yeah. Maya Grill's got killer fajitas. Scott loves their fish tacos. They got great chips and guac. But I mean, 3, you could do, can you not do both like on different nights? I mean, there's no rule against that.
Well, the thing about being from Moscow, we don't want to go in all these sit down places. We already got reservations at 1900 Park Avenue. Cool. That one's opening back up.
Heck
and Topolino's.
Oh my gosh. You guys are high rolling.
Man, we're going everywhere. Yeah, we're letting our season passes, our annual passes, I think, expire finally. We've had them for about 5 years. This is going to be our last shebang.
So you guys are like skipping. You guys aren't going to Chubby's Throat Rolls up there in Moscow Mills. You're just.
No, we're going all out. Going all out for the last trip. No, we're doing a good. Actually got them Bippity Boppity Boutique. Never done that for the girls. So, yeah, going all out for Lincoln County.
Oh, man, I love it. Oh, my gosh, you are doing it big. Yeah, I remember my days with Bippity Boppity Boutique. I was glad Mallory graduated out of that one. Whew. I mean, it never get.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you what, though, it never does get cheaper because it just turns into something else. You know, the last thing was a car, so that the Bippity Boppity Boutique back then was fine.
Yeah. You know what? I guess Bippity Boppity looks pretty cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, we're going over Memorial Weekend there, so we're going to catch the end of Flower and Garden. So real excited for that. I think Casting Crowns is going to be playing there at Epcot. So
nice.
So really looking forward to it. Yeah.
No, you really will like Maya Grill. You won't regret it. The atmosphere in there is fine. Obviously, Three Bridges is nice because on a beautiful day like we're having today. How about today's weather, by the way? Because nobody else can appreciate this.
Oh,
holy smokes!
Just got back from a bunch of soccer games. Like I think about 4 hours of soccer games. It seems like, and so I'm sunburnt as can be. So just getting ready for that for the sun.
You got the first farmer's tan of the year today, huh? That's exactly how it is. Today's that day. Exactly. I almost took the whole studio out and put it on the deck to do tonight's show. Yeah, but you'll love it. A day like today, Three Bridges will be awesome outside. But I mean, Maya Grill's got great food. It's a great place to eat. You won't regret it. You'll love it. It's awesome.
Well, awesome. I appreciate it, Mike. Well, you have a good evening in MIZ.
ZOU. Great last guy. Don't be a stranger. I got to talk to you again. Hey, Moscow Mills rocks. We come up there all the time.
Absolutely.
All right, take care, buddy. Hey, if I don't talk to you, have an awesome trip and give us a call back and let us know how it goes.
Will do.
All right, stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, that's a great way to end the show there. Moscow Mills is a small town, and I mean small town, just to the north of where the Be Our Guest Podcast Studios is, about 30 miles up Interstate 40, Highway 61 here in Missouri, Lincoln County, Missouri. That's a great call. Go to Maya Grill for the first time. Boy, they're doing it right. 1900 Park Fair, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. What do you say? Topolino's. Have a great trip. Flower and Garden. Holy cow. Casting Crowns. Man, they're going to have fun. That's how you do a Walt Disney World vacation. So give us a call back and listen to how that goes. But we got to go. Speaking of go, it's time to get out of here. But we're going to have a great week here on the podcast. Monday show, we're talking with Andrew in Utah. We talk his first dopey experience. He ran it with his brothers-in-law. We only talk about that for about 5 or 10 minutes because that wasn't the focus of the show. We talk about his awesome Walt Disney World vacation, but he grew up in Utah. So we talk about him starting his Disney love out at Disneyland. So you get Disneyland, you get Walt Disney World, you get about 10 minutes of Run Disney Talk. It's all over the place. It's a little bit of a longer show because I couldn't stop talking. It was so much fun. So that's coming your way on Monday. Wednesday, listener questions. Friday, of course, Ricky and Pam will be joining me for Fun Disney Talk. We're going to have all kinds of shows for you this week. As always, I thank you for your support. Thank you for taking the time to always listen to our shows. I love doing this show. Hope you always know that. That's why we're always here. We never miss a show because this is my fun. This is so much fun. So thank you for allowing me to podcast for you guys. It's so much fun. Don't forget, I want to see you over in the clubhouse. We have our own little clubhouse for our podcast listeners, for our podcast family, and that's you. Coming over today, it's beourguestpodcast.com/Discord. We have conversations going on 24/7 over there. We're talking pin trading this weekend. We're getting people started with pin trading. We're talking about which ones are real, which ones are fake. I've learned so much over there. We're talking about just all kinds of stuff. Cruises, and especially Alaska cruises. I think that's what we're talking about this morning. There's conversations going on all over the place in all the channels. Just check it out. beourguestpodcast.com/Discord. I'll personally welcome you today. So coming over right now. Don't forget our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. I'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys make all these shows possible. It takes a lot to host over 2,500 podcast episodes from all the way back in 2008 and to pay for all this video hosting and audio hosting and all the resources it takes to put out this podcast 4 or 5 times a week. But you guys make it possible. So thank you for that. Just $5 a month and you're one of our patrons. And we appreciate that so much. And if you do that, you get a bonus show every week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. We put out an episode earlier today and I talked about my very first mobile phones. Talked about my old bag phone I had way back in the day, my old Nokia. the old candy bar phone, and then the between there, the old singular kind of flip phone, the very first flip phone. We're talking about on the Discord. So if you want to see it, go over there, check it out. Anyway, that's about it. You can follow me on social media. I need some more follows on Twitter because I dropped I'm one away from where I need to be. So who's going to be next? Over on X or /Twitter at BRGuestMike. Please give me a follow over there. I'd really appreciate it. Also on Instagram and Threads at BRGuestMike. Please give me a follow over there. And if you don't mind, a rating and a review would really be appreciated on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars, the way to go. We'd love that too. All right. I think that's it. We'll do this again next Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. We'll see you there. So until we talk again, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Why, thank you, Karen. That was very kind of you. Live show. What's today's date? April 14, 2024. Edited. Ba 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 ba. Ba da ba ba ba. All right, everybody. I will talk to you tomorrow night. We're going to record the shows normal time, Monday night, 5:30 Eastern. So join us tomorrow night. Talk to you then.